Hello everybody, it's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading on June 12, 2025, and I'm going to read a little bit, starting on page 148, The Criminal Fraternity, Servants of the Lie by Soul Esprit, Servants of the Truth, Jesus Christ. And who are the real criminals? They masquerade as your friend, but they are your deadly enemies. Police, politicians, judges, and attorneys. Learn the truth that the criminal fraternity hopes you will never discover. Okay, now this is a fairly long chapter. I'm only going to read a little bit of it. So here we go. Let's see, my little paper here keeps falling down because I've got a fan in back that's pushing it away. It's difficult for most people to even begin to appreciate the degree of unspeakable evil which the elite members of the criminal fraternity are capable of enacting upon both the individual and humanity in general. World financiers and politicians, because of their commanding power base, financial backing, political influence, and immunity from prosecution, are a law unto themselves, accountable to no other authority, and are thereby enabled to commit crimes with a scope and degree of magnitude far exceeding the ability of most people's comprehension. Their atrocities are so remote to the average person's common experience that few can grasp the depth of their depravity. Yet the astute Bible reader will immediately recognize the characteristic hallmark of evil exhibited by the criminal fraternity, for they are the progeny of a lesser god, the sons of Belial, the spiritual offering of an ancient multi-dimensional being from another time and place, a spirit known as Lucifer, Satan. If truth be stranger than fiction, the secret lies of the upper echelon elite members of the legal criminal fraternity are, quote-unquote, out of this world. The further anyone rises within the satanic pyramid of the global organized crime hierarchy, the greater is the certainty that they are practitioners of human sacrifice blood rituals. And this is a book. I am reading a book. It's for entertainment purposes only. Promotion to government high office is always contingent upon one's spiritual allegiance and not upon any merited qualifications for the position. Since human government in its core nature is demonic, all those functioning within the beast system are therefore followers and worshippers of the leader of the demonic horde, Satan. Consequently, at the top levels of federal, state, and local government offices are those who willingly and knowingly serve the God of this world. Lower levels of government functionaries, unlike their superiors, are typically unaware of this fact, and thus have no cognizance of who it is that they are actually serving. Compartmentalized subordinates would be shocked to learn the truth about the spiritual identity of their government leaders. They would be stunned to discover that political figures are nothing at all like their public persona. For a criminal fraternity Luciferian, ritual human sacrifice is the highest expression of worshiping their god, Lucifer, Satan, the devil. Since the shedding of innocent blood is required of them in order to appease the demands of their indwelling demons, and is also a requirement for them to gain more power, consequently, the preferred clandestine activity of the Illuminati Brotherhood is satanic ritual human sacrifices, which are targeted individuals, by the way. Targeted individuals are being ritually abused by the criminal Luciferian Satanist fraternity. Their motivation is personal or group power, the attainment of increasingly higher levels of spiritual license to do evil deeds granted by Satan for enabling them to command and control other people. By performing heinous acts of shedding innocent blood, the scriptural definition of murder, this power is extended to them by their indwelling demons. To members of the criminal fraternity, power is their very lifeblood. They absolutely crave it. Without the legal license to rule over others and oppress them, they are without a purpose of living. The LCF Luciferians' all-consuming desire is to totally dominate those who are at peace, command them to do their will, usurp their personhood in a process of spirit absorption, such that the identity of the victim becomes synonymous with the beast system. Their occupational choices predicated upon their psychopathology, which is the driving force drawing them to function within a facet of civil government. Their career choice acts as a vehicle for enabling them to fulfill their pathological needs. Police, judges, attorneys, politicians gravitated towards their respective careers because it satisfies the demands and requirements of their indwelling, controlling demons. They seek to do wickedly because they are wicked. Proverbs 29:10. The bloodthirsty hate the upright. Psalm 58:3-4. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. This Bible verse concisely describes the prenatal disposition of the legal criminal fraternity. Merrill Unger, in his book Demons of This World Today, writes, people who deal in the occult are often found to be immortal. Men and women who abandon themselves to immortality reach a point where God gives up on them, in the sense of restraining Satan and demon power from them, so that they're abandoned to the degrading depths of immortality and are shamelessly reduced to actions that even animals avoid. This observation is especially true for those individuals positioned at the higher levels within the satanic pyramid. The evil which the LCF, which is legal criminal fraternity, does is prompted and facilitated by the presence of malevolent spirits that have taken up residence within their physical spiritual being. Once again, Ephesians 6:12 make this point clear. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. In order to obediently serve this world, Antichrist system of civil government ruled by Satan, the members of the LCF must become synonymous with it. Therefore, of necessity, and to varying degrees, all those functioning within civil government are demon-possessed. The more power implicit in government office, the more the office holder will be under the influence and control of Satan's invisible minions. These spirit entities demand the physical sacrifice of innocence, the shedding of human blood. Thus, their preference for sacrificial victims are infants and young children, since these are the purest form of human beings and are thus the closest to God, like the 3 kittens that were unalived for their Mayday, Mayday, Beltane, Mayday, High Witch, Holy fucking holiday, where the local Luciferian Satanist loser brotherhood of the Illuminati Club entered my non-profit cat building and harmed the eyes of 8 kittens and the mother, 3 of which died. That's why Satan considers them to be the highest value for desecration and destruction, because when the elite members of the LCF are not officially terrorizing the citizenry, instigating foreign wars and domestic insurrections, blowing up buildings, flying planes into skyscrapers, spraying the atmosphere with chemtrail disease vectors, I can't say this word, children of the third world countries with lethal pathogens. For recreation, they occupied their time feasting upon the closest approximation to the image of God on earth, newborn babies and children and kittens. An estimated 300,000 little boys and girls are missing and never recovered in the U.S. each year. Well, no, it's 800,000. When he wrote this book, it was 300. But factually, it's 800,000 children go missing and are never recovered in the U.S. each year. This underreported statistics hides the severity of the problem from the public and represents only a small fraction of the actual count, both in America and worldwide. It's interesting to note that the Federal Bureau of Crime Statistics does not even compile data on missing children, yet they collect data on the number of stolen automobiles. Why the concern for cars and not for human life? It's because there exists an international kiddo abduction network operating under the direction, sanction, and funding of the federal governments of the world. The federal government in Washington, D.C. is a major facilitator for the kiddo, pop, child abductions and their subsequent sacrificial unaliving. Members of the legal criminal fraternity on Capitol Hill have easy access to a steady supply of abducted pre-adolescent boys and girls to satisfy their PEDO craving. After they are SA'd, after they are SA'd, front, back, under, over, brutalized, they are then unalived. Their small bodies discarded by the fellow Satanists adept at covering up the scene of their grisly crimes. Many of the kiddos are taken from orphanages, such as Boys Town, Girls Town in Omaha, Nebraska. They're transported via the PEDO underground network throughout America and various other parts of the world, where they are ritually SA'd in a horrifying unaliving at the bloody hands of the world's power delete. I don't know. VayTube is not going to like these words, so I'm going to skip over it. Today's homosexual culture and legalized sex with minors and gay marriage is a harbinger of present-day America's slide into oblivion, presenting a terminal stage of the development of any society. Sodomy was the fall of the ancient cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, Rome, and now America. Violation of the most basic of human instincts, prohibiting incest and homosexuality, has always preceded the demise of the established cultures throughout human history. The Illuminati generational Satanist families routinely perform gruesome kiddo SA ceremonies. SRA is a technical term used to describe their cult unalivings. A disproportionate number of individuals positioned within the satanic pyramid, especially those operating at the state and national level, are Homosexuals, lesbians, pedophiles, Satanists, and witches. Witches. They're witches. During the Clinton administration, for example, the entire White House staff and a substantial number of the cabinet were radical feminist lesbians, or I can't say some of this stuff. The nearly unanimous composition was an expected consequence of the chief politicians who ostensibly appointed them to office. Actually, I'm not even going to mention these two. You know, the former president, with Monica, the guy with Monica. Remember Monica Lewinsky? I'm not even going to mention their names because mentioning their names gets everybody in trouble. It just basically says here that they're predators and Wiccan witches. This is for entertainment purposes only. I have no idea. I cannot confirm or deny in the name of truth, justice, and the American way. The rationale for populating the rank and file of public offices with amoral perverts is that it provides the LCF leverage for blackmailing members of Congress, the state, the House of Representatives, if any of them oppose the Illuminati's policies or otherwise defect and attempt public disclosure of the atrocities committed by the D.C. White House crime syndicate. These are not my words, by the way. I'm reading a book. I'm reading a book called The Criminal Fraternity Servants of the Lie by Sol Esprit. And let's see the date. It is copyrighted here. Let me see here. It is 2014. Okay, 2014. I don't know. Seems pretty accurate to me. Too bad I can't read some of this. Loyalty among the various members of the LCF is assured by the looming specter of a ruined career for the occasional rogue congressman or senator with integrity and moral conscience. Exposure of their evil deeds is the greatest threat to the satanic kingdom. You know, like the Epstein files. As when attempting to expose the invisible spirit realm in devouring to reveal the LCF's crimes to the public is also met with considerable resistance. In either case, for those not protected by the shed blood of Jesus Christ, an untimely death is often a consequence. Of significance is the general effeminate character demonstrated by some members of the LCF. While some police tend to be psychotic sociopaths with serial killer personality traits, a certain percentage of attorneys are characterized by homosexual or bisexual tendencies. No, that doesn't happen here in Jackson County. Nah, that doesn't happen here. Let's see where their existence and preponderance of highly placed politicians and judges who share all the above traits and additionally have a penchant for pops. I'm just going to replace the word with pops. Homosexuals are possessed by the vial of demons. Sodomite legal criminals acquire most of their unclean spirits during same-sex physical acts. Okay, I'm not going to say that I agree or disagree with this, okay? But I will say that the sexual perversion is characteristic of being demon indwelled. And these are perverts, by the way. They are perverts through and through. These satanic losers, perverts through and through. And all the devils besought them, saying, "Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them." This type of perverse demon is further typified by the blah 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 propensity for unaliving and hatred of indifference towards Jesus Christ, the Bible, and true Christians. The morally corrupt are the norm within high society political circles. The membership rolls of high-ranking legal criminals is replete with child molesters and the pops. pops. It's sort of like the testimony of Kay Griggs, the military wife Kay Griggs. You remember her, right? She basically said, based upon her husband's high-ranking military Marine drunken stupors and written diary, that pretty much everybody in the military is a pervert. Immature perverts. And at the very minimum, bisexual. All of them, she said. Let's turn the page. Okay. Such a fun topic. Intelligence agency dossiers reveal a consistent pattern among the quote-unquote upper management of Satan's ruling class. They're all morally depraved, having no conscience, they're sociopaths, and characterized by criminal sexual deviancy, for example, cult ritual involvement and cold-blooded unaliving. Yet, what the files fail to document is that some of the world's top leaders are not fully human. This reality, yet hidden from general public, has been substantiated by numerous credible eyewitness testimonies. For example, a public disclosure by former Princess Diana, then alluding to the British House of Windsor, stating, quote unquote, she said this, "They are not human." This comment made shortly before her untimely death, her accident, was perhaps a key element in her Deluminati planned occult ritual assassination. The wife of Russian Premier Vladimir Putin is equally serious when openly proclaiming that her husband is a vampire. I'm reading this for the first time, men and women, boys and girls. I did not know this. That her husband's a vampire. Arizona Wilder, formerly bearing the dubious distinction of the highest ranking witch in America, she was superseded by the sister of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, who was often employed by the global elite, to conduct their satanic ceremonies involving kiddo SA rituals. During interviews with the author David Icke provided eyewitness testimony identifying high-level politicians and other global leaders who participated in ritual unaliving blood fests. Kathy O'Brien, who was sold to the CIA by her father and then mind-controlled by the CIA and various other government and military agencies, made good use of her trauma-induced photographic memory to later recount detailed descriptions of famous world political figures that SA'd and unalived little people. Among the more depraved fiends mentioned are former American Vice President Dick Cheney, former President Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, and George Herbert Walker Bush. Possess the spirit of their murderous father Satan. For the LCF Brotherhood, human life is merely a casual sport. How is it possible to account for the barbarism and absence of any moral conscience which the criminal fraternity terrorizes mankind? In what sense are these madmen and madwomen not human? The revealing answer to that question will give most readers pause. So, in order to buffer the shock, the following information is presented as a short course in the characteristics of the reptilian brain. These are the characteristics. Territorial, rigid, inflexible, authoritarian. Hierarchical order of authority. Behavior dictated by stringent adherence to a system of rules and regulations, man-made laws. preoccupied with control. So they're control freaks. Destructively irrational. Allegiance to a social chaste system. Sexual androgyny. Males look or act like females, and vice versa. Again, listen to Kay Griggs' former military wife. 3 hours long. Non-maternal. They lack empathy and emotional capacity to care for young. And I know some women like that who are the heads of the feral cat cartel, which is why they don't give a shit about cats at all. Zero. They're cold-blooded, emotionless, limited range of pattern responses, the use of symbols and images, like the ones that I present as evidence on my channel. They're motivated by base instincts. They seek to elicit a fear response in victimized others, like all those nasty, threatening text messages with Star Wars toys over the weekend, by Gary Coleman imposter. Cannibalistic, will devour members of their own species. Now, if any of you guys have heard my story about the betta fish, you will understand this. My daughter, when she was little, had a betta fish. Those beautiful little male betta fishes. Beautiful tail. And then she said, he looks so lonely in there. Why don't we get him like a girl fish? And little did I know that wasn't going to be a good idea. So we go to PetSmart and bring home the girl fish, which is ugly. The girl fish they're just plain and ugly, and the boy fish are gorgeous. So we put them in there together, and the girl betta fish, starts harassing the male. And it got pretty bad. It got so bad that the next morning, the male fish was gone. She ate him. So yeah, they will devour members of their own species. Do not mix male and female betta fish together. Just telling you. Shape-shifting is a phenomenon recognized and affirmed by first-hand accounts reported in the subject literature. It is common experience among certain generational cultists, such as the LCF hierarchical, positioned at the top levels of the satanic pyramid. The available documentation on the topic describes how human being indwelled by demonic spirits may undergo a physiological transformation, morphological change in their physical appearance that radically alters their normal human form. So they go on to say about ETs, extraterrestrial elves, leprechauns, Tomter, vampires, werewolves, Sasquatch, Yeti, chupacabras, and other so-called animals, including a variety of reptilian forms, are either masquerading ancient fallen angels or malevolent spirits manifesting themselves through demon-indwelled human beings. As incredible as it may seem, this millennium-old phenomenon has been known since the beginning of human history. In the Garden of Eden, when certain otherworldly creature by the name of Lucifer shapeshifted into the form of a reptile, slithering like a snake to officially become the first member of the criminal fraternity. The snake, in the Garden of Eden, in the apple and all that nonsense. Lucifer's name was thereafter changed to Satan, whose famous lie to the gullible human being, "Ye shall not surely die, your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil," Genesis 3:4-5, was later infinitely recycled over to the course of the next 6,000 years. So I'm going to end here because it's late and I should be asleep. I hope everybody's doing well, and this is a half an hour, so I'm just going to say, for the record, I ended on page 156 at the bottom, so I'm going to pick up here next time, because this is a long chapter about the criminal fraternity, and I'll read the back here for you guys. Here's the book that exposes the real organized crime network. After reading The Criminal Fraternity, you will never again naively assume that civil government exists for the public good. Within these pages, you will learn exactly who it is that represents a menace to society and are the greatest threat to you and your family, intending injury physically, mentally, financially, but most of all spiritually. Armed with this vital information, you will be informed and prepared for the life-threatening times that are imminently upon us. Quoting from George Orwell's insightful book 1984, if you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. And that is what the criminal fraternity intend to do to you. The criminal fraternity is a landmark, a volume that challenges some of our culture's most cherished and widely held beliefs. A frankly bold expose reveals the nemesis of the truth, naming and identifying the mortal enemies of all who are righteous in Jesus Christ. Ultimately, it is He that will bring them to justice. Psalm 63:11, the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. And on that note, please remember to hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel grow. It'll get the message out there about the cops, mops, wops, lops, and the pops.